Welcome to the session on decimals and percentages. Percentages are special fractions. The objectives for this session are learning how to recognize that percentages are fractions out of 100, convert fractions to percentages and decimals and vice versa, and solve real-life problems involving percentages. A percent is a ratio or fraction whose denominator is 100. The symbol for percent is a diagonal line with a 0 on either side as shown in red on your screen. Let's take a look at an example. The figure shows 27 shaded squares out of 100. You can say that 27% of the squares are shaded. This can be written as shown in red on your screen. Let's take a look at a few more examples. So 12 out of 100 is 12%. 14 out of 100 is 14%. 19 out of 100 is 19%. And 135 out of 100 is 135%. We will now convert percentages to fractions and decimals. Let's take a look at an example. Convert 17% to a fraction and a decimal. Since 17% denotes 17 parts out of 100, we simply write this as 17 out of 100. And as a decimal, this is 0.17 from our previous knowledge of converting fractions to decimals. Let's take a look at another example. Convert 29% to a fraction and a decimal. Since 29% denotes 29 parts out of 100, we simply write this as 29 out of 100. And as a decimal, this is 0.29 from our previous knowledge of converting fractions to decimals. Now let's take a look at another example. Convert 142% to a fraction and a decimal. Even though 142 is greater than 100, it is treated in the same way as the other examples. So, since 142% denotes 142 parts out of 100, we simply write this as 142 out of 100. And as a decimal, this is 1.42, as before from our previous knowledge of converting fractions to decimals. Now we examine how to convert fractions and decimals to percentages. Let's take a look at an example. To convert 1/5 to a percentage, simply multiply the fraction by 100 to give 20%. And now for another example. To convert 3 out of 20 to a percentage, simply multiply the fraction by 100 to give 15%. And another example. To convert 1 out of 4 to a percentage, simply multiply the fraction by 100 to give 25%. Now let's examine how to convert decimals to percentages. Let's take a look at an example. Convert 0.17 to a percentage. From previous units, we know that 0.17 equals 17 over 100. Place the digits after the decimal in the numerator as shown. The decimal point acts like the 1 in the denominator. And the number of digits after the decimal point is the number of zeros we put in the denominator. We now have a value out of 100, and this is our percentage. Let's take a look at another example. Convert 0.395 to a percentage. If we want to have a fraction over 100, then we need to shift the decimal point by 2 places to the right and divide by 100 as shown. Place the digits after the decimal in the numerator as shown, and as we have divided by 100, we have a decimal point in our numerator. The decimal point acts like the 1 in the denominator. The number of places by which the decimal point has shifted is the number of zeros we put in the denominator. We now have a value out of 100, and this is our percentage. In this case, 39.5%. Now have a go at this activity. Fill in the blanks in the table. Pause the slideshow and play when you are ready to view the solutions. Now check your solutions. We can also solve real-life problems involving percentages. Let's take a look at an example. Suppose that 17 children in a class of 25 are wearing their school uniform and the other children are not. What percentage of children are wearing school uniform? Let's first summarize the key information. So, the total number of children equals 25. The number of children wearing uniform equals 17. The percentage of children wearing school uniform equals 17 out of 25 multiplied by 100. Which equals 68%. Let's take a look at another example. A book has 40 blue pages and 160 white pages. It has no other pages in it. What percentage of pages are blue? So the total number of pages equals 40 plus 160, which equals 200. And the number of blue pages equals 40. Therefore, the percentage of blue pages equals 40 out of 200 times 100, which equals 20%. Let's take a look at another problem. A schoolboy sells sweets after school. 1 week he makes a profit of 7,500 shillings. He decides to give 25% of his profit to his younger brother. How much does his younger brother receive? Pause the video and have a go. Press play when you're ready to view the solution. We need to find 25% of 7,500. Now, 25% of 7,500 equals 25 over 100, which represents the 25% part, of, which is represented by the multiplication sign, and then 7,500 stays as it is. So when we multiply this all out, we obtain 1,875 shillings. This brings us to the end of this session. If you have understood its contents, you should be able to recognize that percentages of fractions out of 100, convert fractions to percentages and decimals and vice versa, and solve real-life problems involving percentages. Now pause the slideshow and have a go at these exercises. The solutions will be released one at a time so you can check your answers as you go along. Pause the slideshow whenever you need to. Now have a go at this exercise. Again, pause the slideshow whenever you need to. Solutions will be released one at a time. And now for exercise 3. This allows you to practice real-life problems. Pause the slideshow when you need to. Solutions will be released one at a time. Exercise 4 also practices real-life problems. Pause the slideshow whenever you need to. Solutions will be released one at a time. This brings us to the end of this session. Do attempt the exercises in your textbook related to this topic. Thank you very much for listening.